I trusted my husband's brother to watch her newborn while I attended a funeral. When I returned, the crib was empty. She was some more capable, he said coldly. My husband just looked away and said, "It's better this way." I screamed, "Where's my daughter?" His mother stepped in and said, "You don't deserve to know." I called the police, but they had already filed a claim that I was. My name is Rachel. I'm 32, and from now, bye to how. I used to believe in family, in marriage, in love. That's all done now. It started the day my aunt died. She raised me like a second mom. When I found out about her heart attack, I broke down. But I pulled myself together because I had to go to her funeral. Grace was just 2 weeks old. My body was still healing. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours in a row. Everything hurt: my body, my heart, my brain. Derek said he couldn't take off work, said he had a roofing job. He offered to call his brother Kyle to babysit. Cole was always around anyway. He lived in the guest house out back and helped out with chores when he needed cash. I never really liked him. He gave me weird looks sometimes, like he was measuring me. But I was desperate, so I said okay. The morning of the funeral, I gave Cole everything: diaper bag, bottles, formula, instructions. I kissed Grace on her soft little head, told her I'd be back in a few hours. That was the last time I saw her. The funeral ran longer than I thought. Then there was traffic. When I texted Derek to check in, no one responded. I figured they were busy with Grace. I told myself not to panic. I got home just after 7 p.m. It was dark outside. Porch light was off. House felt cold. I walked in and went straight to the nursery. Empty crab. No sound machine. No mobile spinning. No baby. I felt my stomach drop. I started yelling, calling for Kyle, for Derek. No one answered. I ran into every room. Then Kyle walked out of the kitchen, calm as ever. "She's with someone more capable," he said. His voice was flat, no emotion. What are you talking about? Where's Grace?" "She's safe. Not with you. That's what matters." Then Derek came out of the hallway. He looked dead inside. I grabbed his shirt. "Tell me where she is." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's better this way," I screamed. I couldn't even control it. My hands were shaking, my legs giving out. Then Cheryl walked out of the guest room. She looked proud of herself. "You don't deserve to know," she said. Like I was some stranger. Like I didn't carry that baby for 9 months. I called 911, screaming, crying. When the police came, I thought they were going to help. I thought they'd arrest Kyle, get Grace back. But they already had a report. They said there was an anonymous call earlier that day saying I was dangerous, that I had postpartum psychosis, that I threatened to hurt Grace. They showed me statements. Kyle, Cheryl, even Derek. They said I was unstable, that I hit things, that I screamed for no reason, that I said I wanted to run away from Grace. It was all lies. I begged the officers, told them they were making a mistake, but it didn't matter. Derek had already filed for emergency custody. The judge approved it. CPS had already removed Grace. I was served a restraining order. For my own husband, they kicked me out of my house. I slept in my car that night. Next day I was taken and for a 72-hour psych evaluation. I passed everything. The hospital said I wasn't a threat to myself or anyone. But CPS said I still needed to go through court to even ask about my baby. It's been weeks now. I haven't seen Grace. But I'm not giving up. They think I'm broken, that I'll walk away. They have no idea what I'm about to do. After I got out of the hospital, I had nowhere to go. My parents passed years ago, and I didn't have close friends nearby. I crashed at a cheap motel off the highway. It smelled like mildew and cigarettes, but it had a lock on the door, and no one telling me I was crazy. I called lawyer after lawyer, but most of them wanted 5-10 grand up front. I had $300 to my name. Derek had drained our joint account. I didn't even know he'd done it. He must have planned this for weeks, maybe months. I went back to our bank, tried to talk to the manager. They said the account was now under a single access, all in Derek's name. I had nothing. I sat in the parking lot and screamed into my hands until my throat went wrong. Then I remembered something. Derek had an old laptop he used for invoices and taxes. He never locked it. It was probably still in the guest house where Kyle lived. If I could get it, maybe I could find something. Messages, emails, anything to prove this wasn't just some mental episode one made up in my head. That night I drove to the house. I parked 2 blocks down and walked through backyards. It was stupid, risky. If the cops caught me near the house, they'd arrest me for violating the restraining order. But I didn't care anymore. I snuck around to the guest house. The side window was still broken, had been for months. I slid open and crawled through. The place was disgusting. Empty beer bottles, dirty socks, the smell of weed. But there it was, Derek's old laptop sitting on the desk. I turned it on. No password. Inbox. Dozens of emails. Most joke. Then I found it. An email from Cheryl to Derek. Subject: it's time she's not fit to raise a child. I've been saying it for years. Kyle has agreed to be the point of contact with CPS. He'll say what needs to be said. I already prepped the forms. All you need to do is act like you've tried your best and you're scared for Grace. If we play it smart, the baby will be with us within 48 hours. I took a screenshot, then more. I found messages between Derek and Kyle too. Kyle, we get for Friday. Once she leaves for the funeral, we make the call. Derek, yeah. Just don't screw it up. Don't let her hold the baby again. Not even once. I wanted to throw up. They didn't just lie. They stole my daughter. I copied everything to USB drive I kept on my keychain. As I was crawling back out the window, a car pulled into the driveway. Derek. I hid behind the bushes. He walked right past me on the phone. She still hasn't shown up to court, he said. We're in the clear. I waited until he went inside, then Iran. Didn't stop until I was 3 blocks away. Next morning, I brought the USB to the only lawyer who agreed to meet me without a retainer. Her name was Mercer. She was maybe late 50s. Stern, wore faded blazer, and no makeup. I told her everything. When she read the emails, she leaned back in her chair. You just handed me a custody gold mine, she said. Over the next week, we filed emergency motions to the court, submitted the emails, filed for a hearing to overturn the custody transfer. CPS suddenly started acting a lot more careful. I think they realized they might have been manipulated, but Derek didn't back down. Neither did Cheryl. In court, they claimed the emails were taken out of context. Pearl said I faked them. Cheryl said I was obsessed with control and emotionally erratic. It was my word against theirs. Until the twist I didn't see coming. 'Cause ex-girlfriend Amanda reached out. She had seen a Facebook post I made asking for anyone with past history with Derek, Kyle, or Cheryl to contact me. Amanda told me she used to live with Kyle. She said he had her once. Said Cheryl told her to keep quiet or lose the family. She still had photos of bruised eye. A police report that was never followed up. She also had text messages called bragging about how he and his brother were saving the baby from that crazy check. Them all to me. We had new evidence. At the next hearing, Mercer presented everything: the emails, the texts, the police report from Amanda. The judge didn't smile. Not once. But Derek did. Until the judge said, I'm granting a temporary reversal of custody until we can determine the facts. Derek stood up and shouted, you can't do that. She's not safe. The judge slammed his gavel. Sit down, Mr. Langford, one more outburst, and I'll hold you in contempt. Grace was placed with a neutral guardian while the investigation continued. I had supervised visits, 1 hour at a time. But when I held her again, I cried so hard to monitor in the room gave me a box of tissues and left us alone. Grace was still so small. She looked up at me like she knew, like she remembered. I whispered, I'm coming back for you, baby. I swear to God, I'm coming back. After that first visit with Grace, something shifted in me. I'd been surviving, just getting through each day. But now I had fire in my veins. The kind of fire that doesn't go out until there's nothing left standing. Mercer warned me this would take time. Courts move slow, especially when children are involved. Derek's side still had temporary custody on paper, even if Grace was now with a neutral foster guardian. I was still under investigation by CPS, and they didn't like to admit when they've been wrong. But I wasn't waiting around anymore. Amanda, the ex-girlfriend of Kyle, wasn't done helping either. After sending the text messages and report, she offered to testify. She said Cole used to say awful things about women, about how mothers were weak and emotional and shouldn't raise kids on their own. She said Cheryl always talked like she was entitled to every baby in the family, like she owned them. But then came a new twist. Amanda told me Kyle was in debt, serious debt, gambling. He owed money to some sketchy people and Twin Falls. He once tried to use her credit card without her knowing, said he had a plan to fix everything soon. Amanda thought he was bluffing, but now she thought maybe Grace was the plan. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't even want to think it. But Morris pushed harder. She sent a subpoena to Kyle's bank. Nothing illegal popped up. But we did find something odd right after Derek got custody. There was a $10,000 deposit into Kyle's account cash. No source listed. The day after that deposit call applied for a new apartment across town, a 2-bedroom. It looked like he was preparing to raise Grace as his own, or worse, sell custody to someone else. That thought made me physically sick. Maurice had filed an emergency motion to access more financial records. While we waited, I went digging on my own. I started talking to people who used to know Cheryl, former co-workers, a neighbor who moved away years ago. They all had stories. Not illegal stuff, but controlling behavior, quiet manipulation. How Cheryl always thought the women her sons dated would never get enough. Then came the break we needed. One of Cheryl's co-workers from her old nursing job said something strange, something that made my skin crawl. She always said if her boys had babies with the wrong women, she'd do whatever it took to course correct. That's the word she used. Course correct. When Marissa heard that she filed another motion to request Cheryl's employment file from the hospital, it was a long shot, but we got lucky. Inside the file, a disciplinary notice from 2 years ago. Cheryl had been caught accessing her patient records without permission. The patient, a young mother. The reason, Cheryl claimed she was worried about the infant's safety. Sound familiar? We brought it all to the next hearing. Emails, financials, statements, the co-worker's testimony. Cheryl tried to play it off like everyone makes mistakes, but she looked rattled for the first time. Even Derek looked at her sideways. Then Cole did something stupid. He threatened Amanda in a voicemail, called her a rat, said she wouldn't be so brave if people knew what she used to do. She handed the voicemail over the next day. Maurice had brought everything to the judge. This time the courtroom was tense. The judge listened, took notes. Then he ordered a full forensic audit of Derek and Kyle's finances, ordered Cheryl to stay away from Grace completely. But the biggest moment came when CPS finally admitted their investigator may have acted prematurely based on incomplete information. That's legal speak for we screwed up. The judge didn't overturn custody yet. He said he needed to see the final audit. But he ordered immediate daily visitation rights for me. I got to see Grace every day, hold her, feed her, watch her sleep on my chest again. Derek stopped coming to the hearings after that. I think he saw the writing on the wall. Kyle, though, he showed up once more, tried to talk to me outside the courthouse. You think this means you're winning, he said. You don't know how deep this goes. You should just walk away now. While you can. I stared at him dead in the eye. You better hope I never find out how deep this really goes. Because I was done playing defense. The final edit took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of me driving across town every day to see Grace and that neutral guardian's home. 6 weeks of building back trust with my daughter, feeding her, rocking her, and whispering promises that she'd come home for good. 6 weeks of waiting for the truth to finally hit daylight. And when it did, it came down hard. The forensic audit found that Kyle had received multiple cash payments over 3 months, not just the one $10,000 deposit. 3 different payments totaling $28,500. Each one shut up right after court actions and Derek's favor. Someone had been paying Kyle to lie, to fake documents, to act as the so-called responsible caregiver. But that wasn't even the worst part. Cole had opened a secret savings account and Grace's name. Using a fake birth certificate, he had set himself as the custodian. The account a recurring transfer from Derek's business account. They were planning to move custody over to him. For good. They had even filled out guardianship transfer paperwork through a fake notary one Cheryl friend from church had signed off on without checking IDs. It was fraud. Morris brought all of it to court. The judge's face turned red. He didn't speak for a full 2 minutes while flipping through the paperwork. When he finally looked up, his voice was ice cold. Mr. Carl Langford, I am referring your case to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation, including fraud, perjury, falsification of legal documents, and potential endangerment. Have a child. Cole tried to argue, stood up yelling that I was crazy and this was a witch hunt. The bailiff dragged him out in cuffs. Right there, in the courtroom, the judge turned to Cheryl next. Miss Cheryl Langford, you knowingly supported these actions. Your access to this child is now permanently revoked, and you are barred from contacting her or the petitioner in any form for the rest of your life. If you do, I'll have you charged with harassment and contempt. Cheryl didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stood there stone-faced like someone who couldn't believe they finally lost. Then the judge turned to Derek. You may have started this as a custody dispute, but your actions cross far beyond that. I find that you acted in bad faith, with malice, and with willful intent to remove a mother for her child under false pretenses. Effective immediately, full legal and physical custody of Grace Langford is returned to her mother Rachel without restriction. The courtroom went silent. Derek tried to speak, said something about doing what was best for Grace. The judge cut him off. You did what was best for your mother and her brother, and now you've lost both your daughter and your reputation. I stood there holding the final order, my hands shaking. I didn't even cry right away. I was numb, like someone who had just survived a war and couldn't believe the silence afterward. But Grace was coming home. That night, I picked her up. For good. I rocked her to sleep in our new apartment, a place I found with the help of a local women's support group. They helped me pay the first month's rent and got me in touch with a trauma counselor. The police later confirmed that Kyle would face felony charges: fraud, attempted custodial interference, 2 counts of document tampering. Cheryl was under investigation for notary fraud. Amanda testified. So did the former co-worker and the CPS investigator who had since been fired. Derek. He tried to file an appeal. It was denied, and under 10 minutes, he lost all custody and visitation. The judge said he could reply in no less than 5 years with proof of full mental health evaluation therapy and no contact with his mother or brother. He didn't even bother. Last I heard, he moved to Nevada, working construction under someone else's license, hiding from the blowback. I should feel relief or joy, but I mostly feel tired. There was a time when I doubted myself, when I wondered if I was crazy, if maybe I did something wrong, if maybe I was the problem. But I wasn't. I was just the one who finally stood up, the one who kept going when everyone else wanted me to disappear. And now I hold my daughter every night, and I look in her eyes, and I know she's safe. She's where she belongs, and they can't take her from me ever again.